In a world where fame feels eternal, we often forget that even the brightest stars eventually fade. On this channel, we don't just report celebrity deaths, we honor legacies, share untold stories, and remember the lives behind the spotlight. Because every goodbye deserves more than just a headline. If you believe every life deserves to be remembered, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join us in honoring the legacies that touch millions. Connie Francis was one of the most iconic voices of the 20th century, a true trailblazer in American pop music whose songs defined an era. Born Conchetta Rosa Maria Franco Nero on December 12, 1937, in Newark, New Jersey, she was the daughter of Italian-American parents. From a very young age, Connie was immersed in music. Her father recognized her talent early on and was her biggest supporter, often guiding her decisions throughout her career. She began singing in talent shows and on local television, eventually landing a regular spot on StarTime Kids, a television variety show. Her big break came when she was just a teenager, recording demo records and jingles that would eventually catch the attention of industry executives. In 1958, Connie's life changed forever with the release of her single Who's Sorry Now. Originally a song from the 1920s, it was a suggestion from her father to cover it. At first, she was hesitant, thinking the song was too outdated for modern audiences. But when she recorded it, the track soared to #4 on the Billboard charts and shot her to national fame. The success of Who's Sorry Now wasn't just a fluke, it marked the beginning of a long list of hits that followed throughout the late 1950s and 1960s. Songs like Where the Boys Are, Stupid Cupid, Lipstick on Your Collar, and Everybody's Somebody's full became anthems of young love and heartbreak for an entire generation. Connie Francis was not just a hitmaker, she was a pioneer. She became the first female pop star to truly dominate the charts during a time when the music industry was overwhelmingly male-dominated. Her clear, emotional voice and heartfelt delivery made her music relatable to millions. Where the Boys Are, in particular, became a cultural phenomenon, especially after being featured in a film of the same name in 1960, in which Connie also starred. The song's success catapulted her into international fame and cemented her status as a cultural icon. Her popularity wasn't limited to the United States. In 1974, she experienced a traumatic assault in a hotel room after a concert performance. The incident deeply affected her mental health and led to years of legal battles and emotional recovery. She also struggled with bipolar disorder, which she openly discussed later in life, becoming an advocate for mental health awareness. The loss of her brother, who was murdered in 1981, added another layer of pain to her already difficult personal life. Despite these tragedies, Connie displayed remarkable resilience, eventually returning to performing and recording throughout the decades. Connie Francis never lost her connection to music. Even when the spotlight faded and new music trends took over, her legacy remained intact. Her songs continued to play on radio stations, at weddings, in movies, and in the hearts of those who grew up listening to her. She released several albums later in her career and appeared on television, never fully stepping away from the stage. Her autobiography, Who's Sorry Now, detailed about the triumphs and traumas of her extraordinary life and was praised for its honesty and emotional depth. Connie's influence on the music industry is undeniable. She paved the way for countless female artists who followed her, from Brenda Lee and Leslie Gore to Madonna and Celine Dion. Her ability to connect with listeners through vulnerability, strength, and melody left an indelible mark on American music history. She didn't just sing about heartache, she lived through it and transformed it into timeless art. As we look back on her legacy, Connie Francis remains a symbol of perseverance, passion, and pure talent. She reminded the world that even the most heartbreaking moments can be turned into something beautiful. Her story is not just about fame or success, it's about the power of music to heal, inspire, and connect us across generations and continents. Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary Prince of Darkness, wasn't just a musician, he was a force of nature. Born John Michael Osbourne on December 3, 1948, in the industrial town of Birmingham, England, his early life was filled with hardship. Struggling with dyslexia and growing up in a working-class family, Ozzy turned to music as a form of escape. In 1968, he co-founded Black Sabbath, a band that would go on to birth an entirely new genre, heavy metal, with haunting vocals and dark lyrics that spoke to war, paranoia, and social decay. Ozzy gave voice to a generation feeling lost and disillusioned. Black Sabbath's success was monumental. Albums like Paranoid and Master of Reality became cornerstones of rock history, and Ozzy's eerie stage presence and unmistakable voice became symbols of rebellion. Yet behind the fame, he was battling inner demons. In 1979, his substance abuse led to his dismissal from Black Sabbath, and many assumed it was the end of the road for him. But Ozzy's comeback was nothing short of miraculous. With the help of his wife and manager Sharon Osbourne, he launched a solo career that rivaled, if not surpassed, his earlier fame. Ozzy's solo hits like Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, and No More Tears proved his staying power. His live shows were unpredictable, sometimes outrageous, like the infamous moment he bit the head off a bat, but that shock factor was part of his myth. Through all the controversy, he remained authentic, a troubled yet deeply gifted artist who wore his scars on stage. Sharon played a pivotal role, not just in managing his career, but in stabilizing his chaotic life. Together, they built a brand that would endure for decades. In the early 2000s, the Osbournes brought Ozzy into living rooms around the world, showing a softer, funnier side of the man behind the metal. Fans saw a confused dad trying to work the remote, a husband navigating family chaos, and a survivor coming to terms with his past. It was a rare glimpse into the vulnerability of a rock icon, and it only deepened the public's love for him. Later in life, Ozzy faced numerous health challenges. In 2020, he publicly revealed his diagnosis with Parkinson's disease. Multiple surgeries, a serious fall, and other complications limited his ability to tour, but they couldn't stop his passion for music. He released Ordinary Man and Patient Number 9, albums full of reflection, legacy, and defiance. Even in pain, his voice carried the same intensity that first captivated the world decades ago. Ozzy Osbourne died at the age of 76, following a short illness. The world mourns not just a rock star, but a cultural icon who turned pain into art, chaos into creativity, and darkness into unforgettable music. He was outrageous, misunderstood, and completely unforgettable. Though his voice has gone silent, the echo of his legacy will thunder through the speakers of history for generations to come. The Prince of Darkness has taken his final bow, but he will never be forgotten. Hulk Hogan was more than a wrestler, he was a symbol of a generation. Born Terry Gene Bollea on August 11, 1953, in Augusta, Georgia, and raised in Tampa, Florida, Hogan started out far from the glitz of the wrestling ring. Initially drawn to music, he played bass guitar in several Florida rock bands before discovering his destiny in the world of professional wrestling. With his massive frame, long blonde hair, handlebar mustache, and undeniable charisma, he soon transformed into the most recognized wrestling superstar in the world. Hogan's rise to fame was meteoric. He gained national attention in the early 1980s, when Vince McMahon built the WWF around his larger-than-life personality. With the launch of Hulkamania, Hogan told millions of fans to say your prayers, take your vitamins, and believe in yourself. He wasn't just a wrestler. He was a superhero in red and yellow. His epic matches like the iconic bout against Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 became moments etched into pop culture history. Hogan helped turn wrestling from a regional niche into a global phenomenon. Outside the ring, Hogan's influence continued to grow. He starred in movies, appeared on talk shows, and became a household name. For kids of the 80s and 90s, he was a real-life action figure, a symbol of strength and American spirit. But like all legends, his journey wasn't without challenges. He faced personal controversies, public scandals, and battles that took place far from the ring. Yet, every time he was knocked down, he stood back up. Reinvention became part of his legacy. In the mid-90s, Hogan shocked the world again by turning heel in WCW and forming the NWO. The once heroic icon embraced a darker persona, showing fans a whole new side of his storytelling power. His ability to evolve, to stay relevant across decades, was part of what made him unforgettable. Even after retirement, he remained a vital part of the wrestling world, appearing at Hall of Fame events, mentoring younger talent, and standing as a living monument to the golden era of professional wrestling. In his later years, Hogan faced numerous health issues, undergoing multiple surgeries and dealing with the wear and tear of a lifetime in the ring. But his spirit remained unbroken. Fans still flocked to meet him, still wore the red and yellow, still called him their hero. Hulk Hogan died at the age of 71. After complications from multiple health conditions, his death marks the end of an era, the final bell for the man who made millions believe in the power of fight, faith, and determination. Though he has left this world, Hulk Hogan's legacy will live forever in the roars of the crowd, in the raised arms of young fans, and in the hearts of those who grew up chanting his name. He wasn't just the face of wrestling, he was its soul. And now, the ring is silent, but the echoes of Hulkamania will never fade. Malcolm Jamal Warner was more than just Theo Huxtable. He was a consummate artist whose work bridged television, music, poetry, and cultural commentary. Born on August 18, 1970, in Jersey City and raised in Los Angeles, his parents named him with purpose after Malcolm X and jazz pianist Ahmad Jamal, and that legacy of intellect and creativity shaped his life. At age 14, Warner auditioned for The Cosby Show and was cast as Theo, delivering one of TV's most beloved and relatable portrayals of a young black teenager. Growing up in an ordinary yet extraordinary family, over 8 seasons, Warner balanced school, friendships, and moral dilemmas on screen with charm and natural warmth. His performance earned him an Emmy nomination at just 16, proof that his talent transcended his years. While Theo was his most recognizable role, Warner continued to evolve, starring in sitcoms like Malcolm and Eddie and Read Between the Lines, appearing in Suits, Major Crimes, and The Resident, and even directing for The Cosby Show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and others. He showed that creativity rested not only in front of the camera, but behind it too. Music and poetry became another channel for Warner's voice. In 2015, he won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Performance for Jesus Children alongside Robert Glasper Experiment and Lala Hathaway, a song that mourned Sandy Hook victims and spoke of healing. He followed with a deeply personal spoken word album, Hiding in Plain View, which earned a Grammy nomination and revealed a side of him rooted in introspection and social commentary. In 2024, he launched the podcast Not All Hood, co-hosting conversations that gave voice to underrepresented black experiences, challenging stereotypes and fostering real dialogue. That same year, his thoughtful insights, humor, and empathy drew listeners into stories with grace and authenticity. Behind the public persona, Warner faced heartbreak, the death of his longtime friend and co-star Michelle Thomas in the late 1990s left an indelible mark. He later experienced the loss of his brother and quietly navigated relationships with fellow actors including Regina King. Still, he remained grounded and unwavering in his commitment to art and family, choosing privacy yet uplifting others through his work. On July 20, 2025, Warner's life ended tragically when he drowned while swimming at Playa Cocos in Costa Rica at age 54. He was pulled from strong currents, rushed to a clinic, and despite efforts at resuscitation, he could not be revived. The next day, officials confirmed drowning as the cause of death. The world responded with tributes from Raven-Symoné calling him a beacon and big brother to Bill Cosby, who compared the news to losing a child. To former colleagues and fans speaking of his kindness, wisdom, and artistry, Malcolm Jamal Warner's journey reminds us that fame is fragile, but impact is lasting. He was a child star, a sitcom fixture, an Emmy nominee, Grammy-winning poet, and thought leader who consistently pushed boundaries through laughter, sincerity, and creative courage. He made joy and depth feel accessible, now gone but unforgettable. His legacy lives on in every show he starred in, every verse he spoke, and every conversation he inspired. Today we honor Malcolm Jamal Warner not simply for his roles, but for the heart and humanity with which he brought them to life.